Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. UFC Vegas 42 is this Saturday. The main event is Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction for that main event. Now, I'm super excited for this featherweight fight. It was originally scheduled for mid-July. Max Holloway pulled it out of the fight for undisclosed reasons. At least I never saw, it wasn't originally announced, and then I never saw if there was an official reason for why Max Holloway pulled out of the fight. But nonetheless, it got rebooked and it's finally going to happen this Saturday at UFC Vegas 42. And this is going to be my official prediction video. If you look at the tail of the tape, Max Holloway is currently ranked number one in the UFC official rankings. Yair Rodriguez is currently ranked number three. They're both 29 years old. They're both 5'11. Max Holloway has a 69-inch reach, while Yair Rodriguez has a 71-inch reach. So both guys very similar age, similar height, and a little bit of a reach advantage for Yair Rodriguez. And this is a very important featherweight fight. The winner of this fight is most likely going to fight Alexander Volkanovski next year for the featherweight title. I'd be surprised if the winner of this fight did not fight Volkanovski. So let's first look at Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez has not fought in over 2 years. He has not fought since October of 2019. That's absolutely insane. I think he had a couple fights scheduled with Zabit. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, Yair pulled out or Zabit pulled out. The fight never materialized, which is super unfortunate because I really wanted to see that matchup. But his last fight was against Jeremy Stephens. He won by decision. Decent win. He outclassed him. He beat him up with the kicks, was ripping to the body, was kicking his legs. It was a decent win, but again, it's Jeremy Stephens. I know Jeremy Stephens is an exciting fighter. He's been in the UFC for a while, but Jeremy Stephens is not like he's some world-class elite featherweight. Before that, in September, so a month before really, was that weird eye poke to Jeremy Stephens when they were initially supposed to fight. Jeremy Stephens gets eye poked by Yair in the first round, in the first like 10 or 15 seconds. Stephens unable to continue. That's why the fight got rebooked. And I wanted to mention this fight because there's something that really put me off about Yair Rodriguez in this fight. It's not like anything happened in the fight. It's not like Yair was winning or blowing the doors off Jeremy Stephens. And he eye poked him. That was the only strike really thrown. That's the only thing that really happened in the fight. And Jeremy Stephens couldn't continue. And Yair acted like he was looking for a way out. I don't understand how that makes logical sense. I could understand maybe it's the fourth round of a 5-round main event, and Yair beat the brakes off him for 4 rounds, and now he gets eye poked and he can't continue. I could at least understand the logic there. But 10 seconds into the fight, you eye poke him. It's your fault. You shouldn't have been having your fingers outstretched. And now he can't continue, and then you want to blame him. It was just a bad look, and it made me just think a little bit different of Yair Rodriguez. Before that, he fought Chan Sung Jung. That was back in November of 2018. I believe that was like the UFC's 20th anniversary, 25th anniversary show, something like that. And he lost that fight up until the last few seconds. The Korean Zombie, truthful to his name, rushes forward, gets caught with that crazy upward elbow, and knocks Korean Zombie out with like 1 second to go. That was one of the craziest KOs I've ever seen in my life. But again, let's look at that fight. Korean Zombie was winning that fight. I don't remember round by round what the score was, but Korean Zombie was definitely going to get the decision. There was no doubt about that. Yair gets that upward elbow. It was amazing. But the reason I want to talk about that fight a little bit is because the Korean Zombie is the best fighter that Yair Rodriguez has ever fought. And I know he has a win over him. But, it was the last second KO. Korean Zombie was just getting crazy. I think he was playing it up to the fans, and he ends up getting slept. But again, look at that fight. You can go back and watch that fight. Korean Zombie was really outclassing him, dealing with him very well, landing a lot of strikes, varied of attacks. And Chan Sung Jung would have definitely got the decision. Before that, he got a loss to Frankie Edgar via TKO. He was just taken down and dominated. It was stopped in the second round. Frankie Edgar just took him down and bludgeoned him. And I know Frankie Edgar, especially way back in 2017, was a lot better than he is today, or at least I think he was. But still, I mean, if you can't deal with Frankie Edgar's wrestling, Frankie Edgar is even undersized at 35 now. Yair Rodriguez had a size advantage on him, especially at 45. To not be able to stuff those takedowns and get ground and pound and eventually TKO'd by Frankie Edgar, not a good look. Before that, he wins against BJ Penn. What does that really mean? I mean, BJ Penn in 2017, it speaks for itself. Before that, a split decision win over Alex Caceres. Okay, flying head kick KO over Andre Touchy-Feely. Great win, but Andre Feely not the biggest, not the most elite fighter. Before that, he has a decision win over Dan Hooker. That's a quality win. But Dan Hooker obviously moves up to lightweight and has way more success at lightweight. And that was so long ago. That was all the way back in 2015. If you look over Yair's entire resume, I mean, he's not super active. The last time he had two fights in a year was 2017. In 2018, one fight. 2019, technically two fights, but really only one fight because the 10-second eye poke, the fight really never happened and it got immediately rescheduled afterwards. Yair is a very exciting fighter, but I hate to say it, as long as he's been around, he's been in the UFC since 2014. That is insane. He's been in the UFC since 2014. And, he hasn't really had that big jump up in competition other than really Chan Sung Jung, in my opinion. So let's look at Max Holloway. It's crazy when you look at Max Holloway. Right now, he's won 2 out of his last 5. So he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. I have never thought more highly of a guy that's 2-3 in his last 5 fights because you look at his last few fights. So in his last fight, he beat Calvin Kattar. That was January of this year. He took a little bit of damage in the fight, but he beat the brakes off of Calvin Kattar. He wins by decision, but honestly, the way Max Holloway was beating him up, his corner should have stopped it. The ref should have stopped it. Somebody should have done Calvin Kattar a solid and stopped the fight for him because he was just getting brutalized. The volume, the combinations from Max Holloway was just putting it on Calvin Kattar and just brutalizing him for 5 straight rounds. Before that, he loses a split decision to Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 251, July of last year. And regardless of how you scored this fight, I scored it for Alexander Volkanovski. Super close, competitive fight. And, if you want to say Max won, that's fine. You want to say Volkanovski won, that's fine. But either way, we know they are the 2 best featherweights in the world. And even if you want to say Alexander Volkanovski definitely won, Max Holloway made it very competitive. And if you want to say that Max Holloway won, he could easily still be the champion. The fight before that, another loss to Alexander Volkanovski. This time it was a unanimous decision. Now, this fight, in my opinion, was a lot more decisive for Volkanovski. I didn't think it was up for debate at all. That was back at UFC 245, the same card that Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington first fought on. Now, I thought Volkanovski clearly won this fight, but again, very, very competitive. And look at Volkanovski now. I mean, such an elite featherweight fighter, potentially looking at GOAT featherweight status in the UFC, just defended his belt against Brian Ortega, an amazing performance back at UFC 266. Before that, Max Holloway beats the brakes off Frankie Edgar, wins by decision. Not the most impressive performance, but still a solid win, and that's Frankie Edgar back in 2019, so a little bit fresher Frankie Edgar. Before that, he fought Dustin Poirier for the interim lightweight title. Unfortunately, he lost, but it was a great performance by Max. I mean, to go in there and really hang with Dustin Poirier. And look what Dustin Poirier has done as of late. It was a solid performance, but the power differential, in my opinion, was what really mattered. If Max Holloway had the same level of power that Dustin Poirier had, I think there's a chance Holloway would have won that fight. I know that sounds kind of funky, but it was kind of thrown together last minute a little bit. And, it's not like Max Holloway had a true attempt to really bulk up to lightweight and really maybe put on some muscle, or what you guys get what I'm saying there. Dustin Poirier wins by decision, doesn't even stop him, which I think is even more impressive. And it was a back and forth fight. Dustin Poirier clearly won. Don't remember how exactly I scored it, but still an amazing performance. So it's a common theme with Max Holloway. In fights that he loses, he still performs very, very well. And I've always said you can't judge a guy off a loss, but when you have a huge body of work of wins and losses, and you have 3 losses that are so razor close, or really two losses to the greatest featherweight of all time, or getting to be the greatest featherweight of all time right now, 2 razor close losses to him, where he could have won, and then a very close loss to Dustin Poirier for the lightweight title. You can really, you can take a lot from that. Before that, a win over Brian Ortega, beat the brakes off of Brian Ortega. The doctor stops it in between rounds, just absolutely brutalized him. The pace was too much. And before that, 2 TKO victories over Jose Aldo. If you want to make an argument about who's the featherweight GOAT, you can easily make an argument that Jose Aldo is the featherweight GOAT. And Max Holloway went out there and stopped him twice incredible performances, faced adversity early in both those fights, if my memory serves correct. And just the volume, the pace, the combinations that he put on Jose Aldo were absolutely brutal. Finished him in the third round both times, and I think they are two of Max Holloway's best performances, if not his best performances. So the way I see this fight, I see it going down two different ways. And, I think one is more likely than the other, but I'll give you both scenarios. So, my official prediction for this fight is going to be a Max Holloway third round TKO. And I just really believe, you look at Max Holloway's strengths, it's his cardio. It's his cardio, his pace, his volume. He's a featherweight version, a better version of Colby Covington. I know Colby didn't really do this in his most recent performance, but you get my point. Max Holloway likes to just come forward, throw combinations until you're so tired and exhausted and damaged that there's nothing else you can do but just fold. You can just crumble. And I just don't know if Yair has what it takes. He's been off a while. There's going to be a little bit of ring rust there. I don't know if he has what it takes to be able to hang for 4 rounds with Max Holloway. I just think Max Holloway is going to be too much for him. I think Yair's going to be exhausted, and I think eventually he either gets TKO'd, he falls to the ground, crumples, gets TKO'd on the ground, or the referee just steps in because Max is just teeing off on him. Now, the other way I could see this fight going, if Yair wants to win this fight, and I feel like there's very limited paths to victory for Yair. When I look at a fight, I look at paths to victory. And I look at Max Holloway, I think he can win via TKO. I think he can win via submission. I think he can win via decision. And when you look at Yair, his path to victory, I really only see it one way, and that's first round TKO KO. He has to catch Max Holloway with one of those super flashy kicks, shin right to the jaw and put Max Holloway out, or a nasty body kick that just crumples Max Holloway and he follows up with strikes and really pieces him up and gets the stoppage there. But outside of that, and maybe in the second round, I just don't see it happening. I mean, for Yair to go 5 rounds with Max and win a decision, I would love to look up the odds for that because I think that is highly unlikely. There's no way Yair wins this fight if it goes to the scorecards. I just don't think he has the level of cardio that Max Holloway does. And, the chances of him getting that early finish, I think it's there, but I think it's very slim. I mean, Max Holloway, very defensively responsible. And even when he does get clipped, this guy has a granite chin. Dustin Poirier was landing nasty shots. And I don't even think we saw Max Holloway rocked in that fight. So if Dustin Poirier is Yair Rodriguez going to be able to do it? I don't think so. And Yair's limited. I mean, the main thing that Yair uses in fights is his kicks. I mean, he has nasty, fast, hard kicks. But Max Holloway is very smart. He's coming into this fight. He's going to be ready for Yair just trying to rip kicks to the body, rip head kicks, spinning flashy techniques. And I don't think Max is going to try to be so aggressive early that he gets caught with this. He knows he has 5 rounds. This is a main event. He's going to wait to the later rounds. He's going to be pressuring Yair early, but he's not going to do it in a way that's dangerous and the way that, maybe he's susceptible to get caught. So I really see Max winning the early rounds, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer. And then as you get past that second round to that third and fourth round, I really think that you're going to see Yair Rodriguez starting to wear down and Max Holloway immediately knowing it's time to turn up the volume. He's going to be walking Yair Rodriguez down, throwing combinations, ripping the body, leg kicks, body kicks, just, using his boxing and I just picture Yair just backed up against the cage, getting more tired with every second, and Max Holloway just ripping off 12 punch combinations. And Yair isn't going to have an answer for it in those late rounds. Maybe early on it's going to be competitive. I think that first and maybe second round is going to be competitive. I still see Max Holloway winning every round. But other than that, once Yair starts to fade, that's when Max Holloway really likes to put the foot on the gas. And I just think Yair's going to break in the fourth round. And I really think that, Max Holloway there's just going to be too much pressure, too much volume. His chin is made of granite. He does not get hurt. And I just don't see how Yair Rodriguez can finish Max Holloway once he starts to get tired. He's never really looked great against elite competition. His best win is against Korean Zombie, and I know that was in the fifth round, but still, that was a Hail Mary upwards elbow that just happened to land because Korean Zombie, instead of being safe with 1 second to go, decided to rush in and just absolutely get demolished by an upward elbow. That's not going to be Max Holloway. Max Holloway is going to put the pressure on him, and we're going to get a late round, third or fourth round TKO. That's my official prediction. I think if Yair really wants to win, he has to conserve the stamina. But when you're moving backwards, it's a lot more taxing on the body than if you're moving forward. I mean, we've seen that Justin Gaethje has 5 round cardio. Look how he looked against Tony Ferguson. But look how tired he looked in that second round against Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's all because he was moving backwards constantly. And Yair's constantly going to be on that back foot. His back is going to be touching the cage quite frequently. And, maybe he's going to chop the legs of Max Holloway. I think that's, if he has a high fight IQ and, that's the game plan he should really come in with. He should come in with a heavy a heavy leg kick attack game plan on Max Holloway. But Max is going to be ready for that. I mean, Volkanovski did it a lot in the first fight, but the second fight, I mean, he still had some success, but Max was ready for it. He's going to be ready to check the kicks of Yair Rodriguez. He's going to be ready for the explosive first round of Yair Rodriguez. And eventually, Yair is going to fade and get finished in that third or fourth round. Max Holloway, TKO. I really don't foresee anyone. Maybe some of you guys are picking Yair Rodriguez. I just don't really see that path to victory for Yair Rodriguez. It's just too difficult. He has to finish Max early, and when have we ever seen Max Holloway get finished early? It just doesn't happen, and I don't know if it's really ever. I don't think it's ever happened in his career. So, guys, let me know in the comments, who are you guys predicting to win? Is anybody picking Yair Rodriguez? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.